So I wanted to make a more updated budget-friendly MFTS build. Keep in mind, MF's always going to be expensive, so this probably still costs around, I'm not really sure, like anywhere from like 60 to 80 divines. I tried to move all the non-essentials, but yeah, it's still going to be expensive. Let's go with the build real quick. So yeah, it's a 75% quant, 236% rarity build. You can get more rarity, and I put these ventures at really low rarity values, so keep that in mind. But yeah, quant matters way more during MF, and like you don't want to sacrifice too much player power for quant or rarity, especially this league when the monsters are really insane. So as you can see, we're using stuff like Hyries. You don't want to use greeds. You know, don't use greeds like me until you're fully decked down in gear. Keep that in mind. So yeah, let's just go with the build real quick. So a 1200 LA DPS bow, I think these are around like 20 divs or so. The bow and the quiver are the two most expensive pieces here, so we'll go over that real quick. +1 out quiver, as this name says, this can be any quiver base. Ideally feathered is the best, but any quiver base. Depending on the fracture, this can be anywhere from like 15 to 30 divines. But yeah, these two pieces make up for like 80% of the cost of this build, and everything else is relatively cheap. So helm, this helm is like 1 div at most. The self-craft and stuff, very cheap, just a double rarity helm. Hyries, this chest is like 100 chaos now, very cheap, very effective. Of course you do want a 6 link, so they'll add like extra 2 to 3 divines, not bad. Gloves, these gloves, they don't need like to increase damage hits against shield enemies. It can be just res and life, that's it. You mostly just want the implicits, which is just gain 1 enrage on hit. Cold exposure does not matter. You can get cold exposure, lightning exposure, or you can get increase effect of your marks. The last note, yeah, so that plus it doesn't really matter that much. Get whatever, it's just a little bit extra damage is all. Boots is basic gold worms. If you can get a corruption, that's great, but most of the time the corruption is pretty expensive. But yeah, it's basic gold worms. Amulet, Eyes of Great Wolf. So I didn't add a second implicit here. Just get whatever good implicit you can. Crit multi is the best. Attack speed's really good. Maximum life's really good. Stuff like that. Shaper Amulet with quant and like crit multi and like crafted life is also really good. Those don't tend to be too much, like maybe like 10 divines. So if you want to go for something like that, feel free to. Remember, you want player power over quant really this league, so keep that in mind. Eyes of Great Wolf is totally optional. You can just use a straight up damage amulet here instead, like a yoke, for example. Venters, just get like at least 8% plus quant, some amount of rarity, and some res. As you can see, we're still over res cap, trying to distill it, and we're still over cold and light resist. Fire resist doesn't matter too much because like distill it keeps you cap, and because there's no altars, since we're taking either altars, there's no altars that reduce your fire res. So yeah, fire res really doesn't matter all that much, although if you do want cap fire res, then get more res on your ventures or get more res on your gloves, right? Obviously you can get more fire res here if you want to be cap. Yeah, it's completely fine to not be fire cap during MF because of divination distill it. And just Piscos, of course. I do also have a Headhunter swap here if you are curious what you should do. So yeah, this should be, you should distill it. Flask, Jade, Quicksilver, Amethyst, Divination Distillate, and Gold Flask. You can also use a Dying Sun, and kind of depends what you want to replace. You can replace the Amethyst Flask. You will lose a lot of your Chaos res, but it's probably worth it if you don't mind dying a little bit more. But yeah, keep that in mind. You can use a Dying Sun. I do have it here. Ideally, eventually you do want Progenesis. The thing is a massive EHP increase, massive. Obviously, you want Headhunter first, though. That's the thing. Headhunter is just the biggest upgrade, of course, for any MF build. So yeah, feel free to change your flask. Skills real quick, it's just a no shot. Awakened Fork is ideal over Awakened Elemental damage with attacks, but it's very expensive. And I don't think regular Fork is better than Awakened Elemental damage with attacks. So yeah, use this until you have Awakened Fork, but Awakened Fork once again is like not the highest priority of upgrades. This is a 6 link Mana Forge House setup. This will get you power charge on crit, and it'll get you frenzy charges. Scorch Arrow of Menace is also pretty good here, and it will add quite a bit of value to your damage. Not that much, but it is pretty nice. This will also keep you low enough life where it'll out degen your Divination Distillate. So that's the other purpose of the 6-link setup. So you don't have to use Blood Rage. Or setup, no light in here. So I took out that light in, try to make it a little bit cheaper. So you have Pure Elements, Grace, and Petrified Blood, and Steel Skin. Your life setup, Dread Banner, Arrogance, Precision, and Vitality. Vitality you want to keep a low level because you need enough unreserved life to where your Distillate doesn't automatically make you full life. So yeah, make sure your Vitality isn't too high of a level. I think around like level 9 is fine. And Vitality is not needed. It's just that little bit extra life regen is pretty nice when you are always degening with like stuff like Life Tap, Mana Forge Hour setup. It's also free damage because we're taking this mastery, so that Vitality is also 8% increased damage. And then it's just simple Life Tap, Mark, and hit Sniper's Mark, Frost Blink. You can use Flame Dash here if you want, doesn't really matter. I prefer Frost Blink. Okay, last thing to talk about is the charms and the Ascendancy. I mean, Ascendancy is just basic Deadeye. Always this question, should I take Ricochet, should I take Focal Point? If you're playing TS, you want to take Ricochet. A Focal Point, you can get later down the line with Forbidden Jewels. Is a 2 cluster setup, just for really high damage. I think these clusters are around 5 divines each. There's like 5 divines, probably like 4 divines. This third passive does not have to be Smite the Weak. Just different notables it can be, by the way. Just keep that in mind. But yeah, these Flask Wheel is very important. Make sure to always take this. And then your Inspired Learning. Of course, I also have the other setup where there's no Inspired Learning, you get a Massive Thread of Hope and all that. So, yep. So yeah, last thing to talk about is the charms and that which was taken, which is the new unique jewel. So with these charms, you need or you want global chance of line of hit on one of these charms, right? You can be on any of these charms, or it can also be on this jewel. Keep that in mind, just mix and match. You want Onslaught, once again, on this jewel, or one of these charms. Because this jewel and the charm share the same roles, essentially. And you want 1 Adrenaline, once again, on these charms, or this jewel. And then you fill the rest of the slots with just 1% crit while at maximum power charge. Ideally down the line, you get +1 arrow on these charms, but those are pretty expensive. But yeah, just mix and match your charms, try to fit in, Blind, Adrenaline, Phazon. You also want Phase on one of these charms. And if you have to give up like 1 charm with maximum crit, that's totally fine. Nothing wrong with that. So yeah, if you need to get 1 charm just to fit in Phazon, that's completely fine. So yeah, hopefully that covers the charms and that which was taken. You really need to mix and match. Don't just 1-to-1 copy this. You can find some like really cheap deals out there. But yeah. So yeah, that's about it for the budget TSMF setup. Keep in mind, you are going to die a lot. This lane mechanic is very hard. And also, if you're wondering what type of 8 mod map farming you should do with this build, is if you're following my Atlas guides, you should be doing the 8 mod Atlas farm. That's the one where you just farm 8 mod maps and you sell them on TFT. That is the easiest farm to do, and it's what this build is meant to do. You can't really do 8 mod Legion farming on this build. You really need Headhunter for that and all. So yeah, keep that in mind. So I hope that helps people who are trying to get to MF on a lower end budget. But keep in mind, you're gonna make a lot of currency and you're gonna instantly upgrade this build within a day. MF's really quite insane this league, but yeah, I try to make this as minimal budget as possible. And I think I did a pretty good job at it. But yeah, most of these pieces are gonna be the bow and the quiver, which makes sense because these are your most important pieces and gives you the most amount of damage. So yeah, I guess one last thing is this Timeless Jewel, Lethal Pride. Use a Timeless Jewel calculator. If you don't know how to use one, I say just search up a YouTube video. And you want one with like 2 or 3 double damage. 2 is completely fine. Usually around 2 or 3 divines. And it'll also fill out all your strength. I just put in all zeros in this Timeless Jewel so you don't copy it 1-to-1. But yeah. So that's it for the build. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below. And yeah.